So this is my director's commentary on the first 2 minutes of the film The Death Trail, which is a film that me and my partner Kaylee Wilson have been working on for the past 6 weeks. We're very proud of this film, and we are trying to explain to everyone who's followed the blog or anyone who's interested in the film why we made certain choices, certain conventions that we followed or did not follow, and also our process of making it, what we learned. Pretty much it's just a reflection of what we created. So if we start here, this is the production company, which I actually made on Adobe Illustrator, on the Adobe Illustrator app actually, which is very simple to use if anyone's interested in it. We weren't striving for anything very complex. We thought a simple logo would be enough, it would be effective. We chose these, well, I chose these dark colors because I thought it reflected the horror film, because of the dark colors, the deep red, which is kind of like a bloody red. And we thought this logo would be easily recognizable because of the font, that it kind of looks like it was painted on with a paintbrush instead of like a classic clean font that, like Arial. Like, no one's gonna recognize that. So, and also the little bolt that is kind of like the Bad Bolts logo. So we continue here, and this is just the first few seconds, and then it fades in to the opening. This opening, this is Markham Park, which is a local park that a lot of people in this town usually go to, and we decided to film here because, based off of the genre, we thought it was a perfect location to film a scary movie. I've personally been to this park at night, and I can tell you personally that it is the worst. It is so scary, and it's so dark, and you can't see anything. It's just creepy little trails everywhere. And so we decided to shoot here because we thought it would work well with our plot and also our genre. As we follow through here, you see a tilt to the left, and if you stop right here, you can see this little trail. It starts right over here, and then this is used for hiking, walking, whatever, jogging. But this is actually what inspired us to call the movie The Death Trail. We were actually just saying that as a joke, but then we ended up liking the title a lot, so we left it like that. So that's that, and then we come over here. And here you see the young couple on top of the car. This is the victim of the first murder, and he is talking about how he is going to miss this park once he goes off to college, which is very important because it reveals it, or it ties in with the killer's motive. She is the only one that will be staying in this town out of her group of friends, and him and the rest of their friends will be leaving to different colleges. Based off of this alone, or one of the main reasons that we chose this plot, is because based off of the usual target audiences for this genre, which is relatively young, it would be maybe 15 to 25, 15 to 30, because those are the adventure seekers, and also they're the ones that watch the most scary movies. So having a genre like going off to college is relatable to a big group of that target audience. So that's part of why we chose this plot, because it's relatable to people watching this movie. And I don't know if you guys heard that, but there was a little click, and that was we actually had some trouble while we were filming. There's a shooting range in that park right next door to where we decided to shoot, and we needed a way to incorporate that into the film so it wouldn't seem like it was just a mistake, or like we didn't bother fixing it, or since we had such a limited amount of time to film this, we decided we should mention that there is a shooting range, which you will hear soon in the dialogue, to emphasize, to just make it seem like it wasn't a mistake. And then as you press play, if you hear the wind there, I actually spent a lot of time trying to minimize the wind as much as I could through GarageBand, but since the wind was the most predominant at times where one of the actors are speaking, it was very hard to control, which was really unfortunate. But so the wind was a big issue of ours as well as lighting, which I will get into later. But I did try to adjust the or minimize the amount of wind using GarageBand. As you can see, there's a bluish tint to this shot. We This was actually a mistake. It was just based on the lighting at the time, but we decided to add the bluish hint to all of the shots following up to the murder because we thought it would serve as a good contrast as well as being aesthetically pleasing. The blue is a very calming, tranquil, soothing color. So we thought, con- while they're talking about their lives and like having this romantic moment together, it would be nice to have a nice, soothing color. And then at the end, you will see that it turns pitch black right after she kills him. So it kind of shows that mood shift and also the contrast between the beginning and the last few seconds of the film. That's where you mentioned the shooting range. Um, there's the wind again that we tried to minimize as much as we could. So this is where they're moving into the car, and we chose to do this because it adds an intimate level to the relationship. Like you can see that they're not just like they've been together for a while, they get intimate, often, I suppose. And yeah, actually during this shot, most of the shots were filmed by my partner Kaylee Wilson, whereas I was more directing them. I was more of the behind the scenes type of gal, and so I was actually holding 3 different iPhones in my hand with the flash on so we can actually see what's happening because as you can see we had the car lights on, but it did not do enough, so I did have to hold a few flashlights so you can see exactly what's happening. And you can see the shadows a little bit. Okay, you can see the shadows a little bit throughout that little quick scene. So here, this is where the suspense starts to build. As you can see, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a little bit of suspenseful music building up, and you're also getting pulled into the shot, and this kind of works as a way to draw the audience in, and it serves as a way to engage them. So with the music and the pulling in, it makes the audience feel like they know something wrong is going to happen, which is good because that's exactly what's happening. So now they're driven to find out what's going to happen, what's going to go wrong. And you keep going, and you can hear him screaming. Angel, what are you doing? Yep. Okay, so you hear him screaming, and we actually did this through the voice memo app that most iPhones come with. And what we did was we just shot this without anyone in the car because since, as I mentioned earlier, lighting was a big problem, and we needed to get as many shots as we can during the daylight before it turned pitch black. So what we did is we shot this before we worried about getting the right audio. So we just shot this and muted the shot and then added in the audio that we took much later of the victim screaming and then his final words and whatnot. And again, you can see the bluish hue, which is gonna transition shortly. Okay, so you hear the screams. Oop. Okay, so this is the climax of the first 2 minutes, and actually that's actually my hand. And what I had to do to prepare for this is, if you don't know, fake blood stains everything you own. Okay, so what I had to do is I had to prepare the car intensely before filming this because it's not even my car, it's my mom's, so I would have, you know how it is. So I held the blood in my hand like a little cup, I guess you can say, like a little pool of blood in my hand, and I swung it onto the window to get the right amount of splatter, and then slapped my hand onto the window and dragged it down. And the way I prepared the car was I put clear wrap all over the windows and made sure it was as smooth as possible so you wouldn't see those bumps or ridges. And then I put paper towel all over the back seats of the car so when I swung it, it wouldn't stain anything in front or behind me. And the reason I did the slow pull down, okay, so I'm going to get back to what she said right now. The reason I did the slow pull down was because it kind of shows how at the moment he's panicking and he holds onto the window because, you know, he's in pain, and then all of a sudden he goes down, and it kind of shows his vulnerability, I suppose you can say, and how he kind of just, you can see the process of his death just through his hand falling down. Because at first it's such a lively motion hitting the window, and then he slowly falls down, being dead. And at this point, the music stops right where the blood splatters, and you can hear the killer saying, "Now you won't leave me," in a very low tone. And we did this because it would add an element of suspense and of horror to the film, and it was all planned out so that the final climax was very calm. Not calm, but so the killer at the climax was calm, to say in better words. We wanted her to stay very calm and collected throughout the entire process because we wanted to show what type of killer she was. And also, another thing that we did differently from most genres, or most conventions in our genre, was we revealed the killer very early on in the film. Whereas in a lot of other horror productions, like for example, Scream, the killer, you know the killer is killing people the entire movie and you find out who it is at the very end. Whereas this movie is more like, you know who's killing it, you kind of know her reasoning, but you're just going through the process of the killings and how she evolves as a murderer. And at the end, we kind of plan her to kill herself, but her friend stopping her before she does. So yeah, we wanted her to be portrayed as a very calm and collected killer, and we kind of did a little twist. So here is where you can see there's no longer a blue hue, and it's very dark and faded. You can see the whole crime scene right here, and she turns around with blood all over her and looks straight into the camera. This actually was not planned. The actress just did this on her own, and we thought this was very interesting because it was another way to draw in the audience, and it kind of made the audience feel like, oh, okay, well now she's gonna come kill me, oh no. And then you can see here the victim lying hopelessly, and then she's kind of smirking here, which is interesting also because it shows her lack of remorse. And then she walks away, and we pan with her to the right, and here you see the title coming up, and her knife, and then, I don't know, here she's walking towards the death trail, which is what was seen earlier, and she's gonna go through and proceed killing more of her friends. And then here, we decided to do a close-up of the hand, because again it showed that vulnerability and how lifeless he is by the end of the scene, in contrast to how lively he was in the beginning. So we did a slow tilt going up to see the victim and his state of, and in his state of, you know, being dead. And you can see how loose his body is, how the lack of movement, the lack of expression, and again it just emphasizes how dead he really is. So, as a little summary of what you just saw, pretty much the other technologies that we used throughout this film opening was Adobe Illustrator, which we used up here. We used iMovie for all of the editing, and then I used GarageBand to try to minimize the noise of the wind. And then we also used the voice memo app on most iPhones or Apple products in general, I believe, in this scene. to have the sounds of the yellings and the screams from the victim. So those are the main technologies we used, as well as we did all of the recording through an iPhone 6s. We challenged most the conventions by showing the killer early on instead of guessing who the killer is. For example, this can be seen in Freddy Krueger, where you know who the killer is from the beginning and you know his motives, but it's still a very successful scary movie, which is why we decided to do this. Or one of the reasons as to why. Also because it creates a scarier killer when you know that she's perfectly fine up until the murder, and even then she remains very calm and collected. We plan to distribute this through streaming, which is perfect for our target audience, because since they are a younger target audience, they are more accustomed to this idea of media convergence, so they will have everything available on their iPhones or their smartphones really, and it would be easier for them to see, to distribute themselves. They can market it themselves on social medias, and it's just a very simple way for us to get our target audience on board with the film. We also want to show this film in most theaters, because scary movies, part of the thrill of watching a scary movie is going to the movies to watch it. And a lot of people feel like when they see it at the movies, there's like an extra element of suspense and horror, which will help our film get more profit and also more people watching it. We chose the plot, as I said earlier, of this teen couple going through college and not breaking up, being separated by this idea of higher education. And we thought this would be good for our target audience, mostly because a good amount of people watching this movie will be either in high school or about to go to college or already in college. So this revolving around school is kind of what this age group does. So having a movie that reflects that would be good for them to relate to. Also, just, sorry. I also feel like my skills developed a lot throughout this film, because before this, I had practiced editing before, but I feel like I got a lot better at it. Even though my partner, Kaylee Wilson, did most of the editing, I was still there, and I helped her out, and I did a lot of alterations throughout it. Like, we also learned a lot of things about lighting, wind, sound elements, color, psychology, which was used in the blue hue here, up until the black and the red. The red is obviously a murder color. And then I felt like I did learn a lot about Adobe Illustrator, which is weird because I only used it for this one shot, but it was very simple to use, and I'm actually very impressed by the company, or the company. I also think I've done better with like choosing which shots to use and which shots not to use, because we did have a lot of extra shots that we did not use because we felt like they were simply irrelevant or unnecessary to the story and just made it too loaded. So we made a very simple and very effective film opening with what we had, and I'm very proud of what we did, because I we worked 6 weeks on it, and I'm very proud of the final product. So that's it. All right. I hope you guys all enjoyed this director's commentary, and I hope you enjoyed the 2-minute opening. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.